Hi, and welcome to another episode of pianoTV. So today I wanted to talk about a problem that I get asked a lot both online and offline, and that is, how do I get my hands to move independently of each other? Because what ends up happening sometimes when we're playing piano is that one hand's doing one thing, and then the other hand just kind of copies it because it doesn't know how to split off on its own. So we are going to go through 5 different finger exercises. I've got a PDF that you can find below if you click in the description box, and we'll just kind of work through those problems. So let's get started. So moving your hands differently, like hand independence, is one of the biggest challenges that we face as piano players. So whether you're a beginner and your main challenge is just trying to split them off to do their own thing, or whether you're an advanced player and you're trying to make 2 hands do 3 or 4 different parts and have all those parts come through clearly and with the right volume and phrasing and all that, is a really, really big challenge. So the exercises that we're going to look at today are meant for the relative beginner. I mean, I wouldn't give these to a complete beginner. You have to be able to coordinate your hands to do a hands together 1 octave C scale. So if you're not there yet, you probably shouldn't get into these ones yet. Master the C scale first, but once you've got that, you should be good to go. And even if you're doing fairly advanced stuff right now, maybe you're learning, I don't know, intermediate level music or whatever it is, I would still urge you to try these out because they seem easy, but they are not easy. An example I like to give in my studio a lot of what hand independence entails is basically you know that thing you had to do when you were younger where your teacher's I want you to pat your head and rub your belly at the same time? It's like that. How well can you do that? I don't know if I could could you do it? Could you switch hands? I don't know if you can see you probably can't see my belly, but I'm not doing a very good job when I switch hands. But I mean, that's a hand independence exercise too. As always, I've got a piano exercises PDF up on the blog, so you can print them out and try them or load them up on your tablet or however you like to do these things. Today, we're going to be looking through each of the 5 piano exercises and talk about their purpose and why I bothered to include them. And I'm also going to show you how to play them, obviously. The first exercise is a 2-handed scale, but instead of playing a C scale with both hands and just calling it a day, we're going to go a step further than that. In this first exercise, the right hand is loud and then the left hand is quiet at the same time. This is actually really tough at first if you're thinking no big deal. I dare you to try it. And then when we get to the second line, the roles reverse, where the left hand's loud, the right hand's quiet. I've used this simple but powerful exercise in my studio a lot because skilled playing often requires your hands be at different volumes. Say you're playing just a basic melody and chord song. So what's the most important part? It's the melody, of course. The melody... There's Barry Had a Little Lemon. It's my default example. But the melody needs to ring out. If it gets lost in the chords like this... no one's gonna know what song you're playing, so you really need to focus on playing the melody louder. A lot of people actually don't know how to do this. It certainly doesn't come naturally to most of us, and sometimes it's really difficult to learn the technique while you're learning a song too, because you're busy with the notes and stuff. So what I'll have my students do is this finger exercise, because you don't have to think about it too hard in terms of what notes you're playing, but you can put all your mental faculties towards actually trying to get the volume balance right. So let's play through it. Okay, so loud and soft. First of all, I'm gonna start with my right hand being the loud, powerful one, and then my left hand is gonna be quieter and subdued. It takes a little bit of work to get this level of coordination. You'll probably find it's a bit of a struggle at first. And then, of course, we have to do everything from both angles. So now I'm going to make the left hand loud and the right hand quiet. It's a good brain exercise too, as much as it is a finger exercise. All right, so this next exercise is similar to number 1 in a couple ways. So it still centers around a C major scale, which is played by both hands, but this time instead of changing the volume, we are going to change the touch. So we're going to turn it into slurs and staccatos. I teach this technique about as commonly as the first one as well. Again, it's simple to understand. One hand plays smooth, the other plays staccato, but it is very tough to execute. Your hands will really end up wanting to copy each other. Give this time, don't neglect this one, because so many pieces require us to use this kind of coordination for them to sound right. Okay, and here we go with the right hand doing the slur, same scale, left hand staccato. And then I'd reverse it. With this third piano exercise, we're gonna go in a completely different direction and take a look at a canon. So a canon in music is basically just where one hand leads and then the other one copies it exactly, usually by a delay of a bar. So as you can see here, we first do the tune in the right hand. This is Frere Jacques, by the way, and then the left hand comes in a bar later with the exact same tune. So it's the same thing, but just like offset by a bar in the left hand. So again, it's easy to understand this concept, but it's difficult to execute. Being able to master this technique with little kid songs basically will take you in the direction of evolving to Bach's Inventions eventually, which are pretty much a staple collection of piano teachers and students everywhere. And then once you master Bach's Inventions, you can master his sinfonias, and then once you master his sinfonias, you can master the creme de la creme of piano music, which is his preludes and fugues. So this is like, I'd like to think of mastering this kind of technique as a first step. So my right hand is going to be the leader, the left hand is going to be the follower. Our fourth piano exercise switches up the rhythm. We've simplified the pattern for this one, so instead of doing a full C major scale, like a full octave, I've just done 5 fingers here, like a pentascale. But if you find this easy or you master it, challenge yourself by playing it a full octave. Now, this is a tricky one because one hand's moving steadily, so like first the left hand's moving steadily, then it switches, because all of these I do in both hands. But the other hand is doing a dotted figure. Now, what's tricky about this is that your eighth note doesn't match up with any of the main steady beats that you're playing in the other hand. They kind of slip in between. So being able to maintain a steady rhythm while doing notes that don't exactly fit on top of that steady rhythm is a challenge for a lot of students. And I think also I want you to try swinging the rhythm, get a little jazz groove going on. So we'll start with the left hand doing the really steady beat, with the right hand doing the sort of the more in-between rhythm. And I'm going to also swing the eighth note. So eighth notes, when they're swung, instead of being perfectly even, they have a little bit of a long, short, long sound to it. So that's going to be what I'm doing. So here we go. And now I'm going to reverse it. So our fifth and final exercise today is basically a variation on the one we just did, number 4. It's the exact same notes. You've got a steady rhythm in one hand and a dotted quarter note and eighth note rhythm thing going on over here. But what changes is the articulation, which in my mind, I think it makes this one the most difficult of all 5 of them, because you're bringing in components of other exercises. So one hand is doing this staccato thing while the other hand isn't. But it's not like over here, so you have staccato in the left hand and then slurs in the right hand, but it's not like it's just one big slur. That wouldn't be too tough. Like, we've already done that on exercise number 2. No, you've got these like tiny little slurs, and you need to make sure you're doing a lift in between the slurs while simultaneously doing staccatos in the left hand. So it's definitely a little bit of a challenge. I mean, if you really wanted to go for the challenge too, you could like add dynamics in there and try to make like the left hand and right hand different volumes too while you do it, if you need to like amp it up a bit. So we're gonna start it sort of the same way, with my left hand doing the steady rhythm. This time definitely staccato though. That's gonna be one of the challenges of this. I'm not just doing everything slurred. And then in the right hand, you notice there are tiny little slurs and a little bit of a break in between. So there's a lot of different articulations going on, and that's what's gonna make this one a challenge. And then again, we reverse it. This is going to be, I always find the left hand the harder side to do, so we'll see what happens. Yeah, I had to concentrate a little bit for that one, so not easy. So if you're well past the beginner stage and those exercises are very, very easy and elementary for you, you should probably move into Bach's 2-part inventions. They are very, very good for establishing hand independence. They're about a grade 7 or 8 level. So basically what his 2-part inventions are is they're in 2 parts. So the right hand does one part and the left hand does sort of like an imitation part, or vice versa. So they're not just like melody and chords. It's like 2 separate melodies interwoven together. Really, really, really good for your brain too. Anyway, that concludes concludes today's video. I hope you find these exercises useful. And as always, I have them linked on the blog. You can find them in the description bar below and print off the PDF or whatever you want to do with that. Thanks again for watching, and I will catch you guys next time. So just to, like, so an example, this is...